Okay, Happy New Year. Great to be back. It is great to be back on the Marlins Hot Stove Show with Steven Schramm. I'm Kyle Seeloff. It is Thursday, January 9th. Happy New Year, partner. How you doing?
I'm good, man. 2025, off and running. First Hot Stove Show. Lot to discuss. And we're starting the new year with two new guests. So I'm very much looking forward to tonight's show.
Yes, Eric Wagaman will be joining us shortly. He was signed by the Marlins 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. We chatted about it on one of the Hot Stove shows. A good interview. We've already had an opportunity to chat with both of our guests. Great interviews. Eric Wagaman, the first, and the second, as we kind of continue our coaching series and introduce the fans as well as us, get to know some of these guys. New Marlins hitting coach Pedro Guerrero joins the show. So we'll have Wagaman and Guerrero, two really cool interviews. Shows are going to be a little bit longer, but we do want to continue to stick, Steven, with introducing everybody to the new coaching staff, this young and invigorated coaching staff. In addition, it's the new year. We don't really like to try to bother guys in the offseason, but once the calendar flips, get some players on. So I think we've got 4 Hot Stove shows left. We're going to wrap it all up with an extravaganza at FanFest on February 8th. But yeah, we're off and running, man. Baseball's right around the corner.
It's insane, man. I mean, it really feels like it after the Super Bowl. But, man, baseball is right around the corner. How was your winter break, vacation? What'd you do? Anything you want to highlight or low light?
No, not really. I remember a couple of weeks ago I was fighting a bit of a sinus situation.
You
I feel
were.
like I'm starting to get on the other side of that. Those things linger. They linger. But on the other side of it, went home to New York. Bitter cold.
What was it up there? In the teens?
Even lower with the wind chill. We're up in the mountains, so it was like 4 or 5 degrees with the wind chill. Had a white Christmas, but then the weather kind of broke for my final few days at home. Warmed up a little bit, hung out with my mom, dad, sister, her husband, my nephew. Went over, saw my grandmother. So yes, always nice to get back home for the holidays. Nothing but positives. Feeling good coming into the new year. Yourself, how was everything in New Jersey? You were there a while.
I was there for 10 days under Lindstrom's watch. And, you live with your mother for 20 years and then you forget, there's rules and there's regulations. When you move out and you're on your own, you make the rules of your own castle. I was not in my own castle, so little adjustments there. And I'm always thinking about the show, so I did want to come back with some highlights, lowlights. Highlights was no fighting or anything like that. It was a very smooth Christmas. I have 3 girls. I have my mother. I have my 2 little sisters. I had my wife there, so it was girl dominated. Highlight, no fights. Highlight, got to spend my dad's birthday, December 29th. We did a Vikings surprise theme. We had all our Vikings jersey on. They beat the Packers. Mm-hmm. And we made the girls made the table like a football field. They had his jersey from high school, number 84, Randy Moss. So that was really cool to do that. Then on New Year's Eve, my sister performed at a bar. She's a singer, so we got to see her. So highlights there. Lowlights. And the lowlights started quickly, Kyle. Got in Monday. Went to my old high school to see a varsity game.
That was a bad decision.
Wore my varsity jacket. I'm kidding. I didn't wear my varsity jacket. But I did get it when I was a sophomore. So I showed that thing off in my locker. It was 80 degrees in the spring. I was still wearing that bad boy. It's a lot of very expensive. I got to the game and I look at who's starting, and a kid that I counseled in basketball was starting. And I was like, holy crap, I'm old. 26, man. 26.
What age or how many years post high school do you think it's appropriate to go back for a high school basketball game?
Well, when you were as a player?
Just in general, I feel like...
In general, it's different. As a player, when you know the coaches and you just love that school and you know exactly where your locker was and where your sweet spot in the corner was. And
you went into the locker room?
Yeah, I wanted to take a trip down memory lane, man. I wanted to go to the spot where I hit that big 3 against JP Stevens to beat them in the quarterfinals.
Hold on a minute. So there was a game going on. Did you went on the court at halftime?
No, no. I mean, during layup lines, like when I walked in, my coaches saw me, so they all like ran towards me and dabbed me up. The dab into the hug, and
So you went to the locker room. You went to the smelly locker room at 26 around high school students, and then you also went to your sweet spot on the floor.
You know me, man. I always loving memory lane, and you could imagine me just soaking it all in, looking around and just saying, we won 21 games there, school record at the time. So to go there and to see a starter that I counseled, and because as when you're in high school, you're trying to make some extra money in the summer, you do the counseling thing, and he was one of the kids that I did counseled, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this kid is now starting. It's great. It's you know what, you give back and you hope to see the kids fill in the shoes, and they really have. So that was my low light. What are you laughing at? What's so funny, man?
Listen, to be honest with you, you cannot go in a locker room as a 26-year-old man back in the high school. That was a mistake. I'm surprised.
Talk to the team.
No. Oh, you gave him a.
Huh? No, I didn't give.
I'm surprised you didn't get taken out of there and cuffed. You can't go. It's one thing if you want to go to the sweet spot on the floor and layup lines. It's another thing. I'm surprised you didn't get taken out of there with your hands behind your back.
Dude, everyone knows me, but like they know me. Ober's a small town. They know who Steven Strom is. Like I don't know.
And your locker was still there. It is still
my
the
locker
pencil
was
or the
still
ink
there.
writing with the loves of your life in high school on it when we used to draw the hearts of who you loved in your locker.
Easy. I'm at home right now. Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, it was cool, dude. It was really cool. Really cool to be back.
Happy. But you know what? I smile and I laugh because this just simply wouldn't have. There was no way Steven was going and paying $2 for a ticket and sitting in the bleachers. He rushes into the locker room, gives a speech, goes to his sweet spot on the floor. Did they do a halftime ceremony? Did they do a welcome back?
That was what my friends were saying. Like, oh, did you get your jersey retired? Like, did you go out?
Oh, they put it in the rafters.
Whatever. And I was like, nah, like they didn't do that. They don't do that. So it was just, it was cool though. It was cool.
Oh, Steven.
Low light though. Low light. It was a low light. What do you want me to say? It was a low light.
That's a highlight for you. That's not a low light. That's a highlight.
No, it was a low light in the sense that like, holy buckets, I'm 26 years old. Like I graduated.
Was the kid you tutored any good?
Yeah, he was good. He's good. He's good.
Yeah.
So I take a little
dishing
pride
out dimes, or is he, is he a little selfish? Or is he like to shoot from
No,
deep?
He's a slasher. Okay. He lives at the rim, gets downhill pretty well, finishes with both hands, good solution. So he's good. He's good, man. And they're having a nice year. So anyway, enough about me. Highlights, lowlights, really nice vacation. Unfortunately, we do have.
I'm smiling. I'm glad you didn't preempt. I'm glad you didn't preemptively tell me about this beforehand because it did not by any means catch me off guard, but it simply brought a smile to my face because I should have known exactly how that. If you told me before the break that Kyle, I think I'm going to go back to my high school. Boys are playing a big game. I would have
11
said,
a.m. Tough start. A trap game. A trap game. They moved it. They was.
Did they still eat oranges at halftime? I used to eat oranges. You still eat the oranges at halftime?
No, they got like a whole PA system. I didn't have that when I was playing. I used to burn a CD, and we used to play, the tracks when we warmed up. Boy,
the best part of playing high school basketball, see if you could sneak a couple swear words into the track, into the edited versions.
No, there was Principal Sasso didn't play any games with that, man. That was not.
Oh, really? We used to get a little DMX in there. Oh, coach, it's all edited. You sneak the F word in there once in a while, get the people going.
You see the folks go like this. They're looking left to right. Yep. Did you hear that?
It's an immediate. There's nothing better. There's immediate pandemonium when one of those words is said. It is laugh out loud funny. It got me every time. That was the highlight. I was the 14th guy off the bench. I was folding jerseys, but it was fun. I have no idea what else we were going to talk about. Do we have interviews still? We have a couple of interviews.
We have 2 interviews, but no, I did want to just get into because there was some Marlins news over the break, and actually one that just hit on Wednesday afternoon that Braxton Garrett is out for 2025, which is tough, man, because Brax was awesome 2 years ago. He was a huge part of the reason why the Marlins won 84 games, got to the playoffs, started 30 games, started in the bullpen, was optioned, and was one of the best stories of the season. And then last year just was bumpy. Everything about last year was bumpy, man. Like that's all I can remember from the start of the season, guys dropping like flies. And, Braxton Garrett obviously not pitching the second half of the season, really battling up and down. But he is out for 2025 with UCL surgery, which is just a bummer.
Yeah, and I guess it's not deemed Tommy John, but it's a full repair. So it's like it's Tommy John, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's reconstructive surgery of the elbow. Probably should have known too. Not that we're generally like tipped off to anything, but it was almost didn't really hear much about Brax in the offseason. Not that we're trying to get updates every week, but like he was injury prone last year and didn't really hear much.
Remember,
like,
he made a couple of starts in the minors.
Yeah.
He was supposed to come back and then just kept getting pushed back.
Yeah, something wasn't right. So that's a bummer, I guess. For me, I'm gonna actually pull this up right now because I was.
So what is the starting rotation as of now?
You start with Sandy. You start
Right,
with
and then
Sandy.
Go
Ryan
with
Weathers, who we'll chat about later. Awesome story. Christina De Nicola wrote for Marlins.com. We'll chat about it later. Edward Cabrera.
Right.
I guess Max. I would say Max Meyer and then Valente Belloso. And I say that because if you look at the AAA options going into the season, there's Adam Major and Robbie Snelling. I would anticipate seeing both of those guys in 2025.
I think Major. You think Snelling?
Well, listen, if they're both going to be in AAA to start the year, with what they're capable of doing, my anticipation, and I think the front offices as well, especially at their ages, okay,
sure,
they need to be in the big leagues. They need to. I think it's very, very important for both of them to have big years. Snelling 21, Major for sure 23, and Major's already.
Yeah, Major we'll see. Yeah.
But to me, Robbie Snelling, if indeed he does start there, top 15 prospect in the system, that was the Arise trade last year. I do think if you're going to start there and you put together 10, 15 really good starts, you need to be in the big leagues. My only other thought there, I say those two in AAA, you've got the 5 in the big leagues, Yuri coming back in the summer. That's 8 starting pitchers and 7 to start the year. That's not enough. So now the question becomes,
what about someone like an Xavier Curry if they want to convert him or something?
Okay,
like that?
and I think that's a very salient and a very valid point. But the Marlins have been quiet on the free agency market, obviously, to throughout the offseason. I would imagine, I don't know if they're going to do anything. I would imagine they're scouring the free agent market to see if there are a couple starting pitchers and not guys that they're just going to try to convert, because 7 is obviously not enough to start the year. Even if you include Xavier and Curry as a bit of a swing guy, that's 8. That's still, you don't have enough starting pitching to start the year. So I think that's interesting. But again, they are privy to much more than we are. They obviously knew that maybe this was the road that it was going down with Braxton Garrett, right? So I'm sure that they've obviously been on top of all that. But, it's going to be interesting. Major and Snelling are super interesting. Patrick Monteverde anticipated. I'm just looking at Fangraphs. They anticipate him starting the year at AAA. Evan Fitterer. Freddie Tarnock. He pitched for I've seen him in the big leagues. The A's, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was the A's.
Yeah, the Marlins, they got him a couple of days ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago. That's an interesting guy. So anyway, listen,
the A's.
There's guys that can start, but I would imagine that Peter Bendix and his team are probably out there seeing whether it's a veteran starting pitcher that maybe they could flip at the deadline. Is the team in a position to sign a guy for 2 or 3 years? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they are,
but the bottom line is we should expect to see some sort of movement in the future as far as adding depth, at least to the starting rotation, because like you said, I mean, you can count on your hand like what you think the starting rotation is going to be, but it never, ever, ever ends up that way, So we will see.
A guy to look at, and he just signed, but the likes of like a Martin Perez, I saw he signed a 1-year deal with the White Sox.
Right.
I saw the Verlander.
How about Verlander, man?
Well, I think it's a great deal. I think it's a great
with the Giants,
for sure. At his age, to pitch there in that damp, humid environment where it's so hard to hit the ball out of the ballpark, that is an awesome landing spot for 3-time Cy Young Award winner.
Yep. And then I know there was a couple of moves too with Max Fried,
Hey,
Charlie
Yankees,
Morton.
Morton to the Orioles.
So the Atlanta, I mean, we're not going to talk about other teams, but Atlanta's interesting. It seems like they lost a couple of pieces, but they'll be in the thick of things when it's all said and done.
Yes, the Morton one was interesting. The Orioles are in a super weird spot with their rotation. Oh, by the way, rest in peace to Brian Mattis, passing away yesterday at 30 or 2 days ago at 37 years old.
Brutal.
Former lefty for the Orioles, like by all accounts, an all-around good guy. I don't think anything was disclosed, but that's horrific at that age. So thoughts and prayers to his family, man. I don't know, you want to get into our first interview, Steven?
Yeah, why not? It's been awesome with the coaching series, but I'm excited to now implement a little bit of the player series as we gear up towards spring training.
All right. So first, we can set this up and remind everybody to become a Marlins member here in 2025. Make sure you embrace your community with a Marlins membership. Go to marlins.com/membership. There are a ton, and I mean a ton of amazing perks that come with being a Marlins member. Get yourself out there on opening day. Hey, and by the way, I know we say this all the time, but make sure you get yourself up to the radio booth. Come hang out with us, and we'll have a great time in 2025. All right, well, joining us now, our first guest here in the new year on the Marlins Hot Stove Show, recently signed a deal with the Miami Marlins. Eric Wagaman joining us. Eric, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on here.
Okay, how was your holiday season? Did you get any toys you can't put your hands off of? How was the Christmas season?
Oh, it was good. Just spent the time with some family and my girlfriend. It was good. It was relaxing. Not a whole lot going on. Yeah, it was all good.
Do you have gift opening anxiety?
No, I mean, I think everyone just looking at the presents under the tree before the actual Christmas day, you're just like, I got to see what's in here. Mm-hmm. You always want to open them early.
But what if someone gets you something? Do you feel like you have to like, oh my God, I love it. Like, like with the person right there, or are you just authentic?
No, I think you got it. You got to fake it. You got to tell them you love it.
Is Christmas big in the Wagaman household?
I wouldn't say huge, but I mean, it's definitely a big thing, but it's not like we've got our homes just covered in lights, and I mean, we definitely have some decorations, and I feel like it's pretty modest.
All right. Well, before we get into the baseballs, we will chat baseball, Eric, with you at some point.
Eventually.
Growing up in California, big sports fan. Is your NFL team making a big playoff push? Who do you root for here? Who'd you root for growing up?
So, I mean, the closest team to me growing up was the Chargers down in San Diego, and then my last couple of years in California, we had the Rams and obviously the Chargers in LA. But I don't know. I wasn't like a diehard Chargers fan or anything. I did have a lot of friends in my area that were big Chargers fans. So when I did move out here to Dallas, I mean, I hate to say it, but I jumped on the bandwagon, got a Cowboys jersey and all of it.
Really? Your last name on the back or somebody else's?
I got the CeeDee Lamb jersey.
Come on, you can't do the last name. How old are you, Eric? How old are we? I'm 26. Come on.
Well, we're supposed to go no last names on them?
No, we're not supposed to go our own last name. We're not supposed to go Strom or Wagaman. You got to get the player name.
Yeah, we got CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that's great. Kyle was like, "Did you get it on your last?" And I was like,
"I didn't know if he bought the jersey. Went to the team store, said I need Wagaman printed on the back of this thing."
I should have.
Okay. Steven, I have one more, and I hinted to you before he hopped on. I was going to ask him this. Eric, I did a quick Google search of your name. Obviously, wanted to go to your baseball reference, just chat with you a little bit. But I did a Google search of your name, and it brings me to Amazon Fashion, and there's a T-shirt being sold for $23 that says, "I love it when my wife lets me watch Eric Wagaman." Do you have any idea why this T-shirt is being sold on Amazon, and why should I buy it?
I can't tell if you're being serious right now.
I swear, if I could share my screen, Eric, I swear to you.
Kyle, I'll try to get it. Hold on.
You know what?
That is hilarious. No, I have no idea that was being sold on Amazon. I don't even know what to say about that.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't know if there was a story behind it. That's okay.
No.
All right.
I'd love to know the story behind that, to be honest.
All right.
with
Well,
you.
listen, here's what I'll do. I'll shoot you a text of the link so you can see that I'm being very serious. I just did a Google search, and that's what popped up on Amazon.
Oh,
hold
my
on.
God.
What do you type in, Kyle? Eric Wagaman T-shirt. I might actually order one now.
We may. You know what? Eric, I'm just gonna send you. I'm just gonna send you the link, and you can take a look at it when you see fit later. But I was stunned. I thought maybe there was something to this, but this is the first you're hearing about it.
That is so funny. This is the first time I'm hearing about this.
All right, I just sent it to you. You can even take a look right now if you'd like.
Send it to me, Kyle. Send it to me or send it in the chat so I can pull it up here for our visual audience. I'm sorry for our podcast audience, but this is too important not to at least try.
There you go, Steven. I
sent
it your way.
That is so funny. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that's like someone being funny or I mean, I wonder if everyone kind of has that.
Okay. I don't know.
Just I don't know.
I'd never seen it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there you go. You can show it to your girlfriend.
How do you feel when you see something like that, E?
It just makes me laugh. That's crazy. That's a funny one. I wouldn't expect someone to make a shirt that said that, but that's funny.
Well, there we go. Eric, welcome to Miami, by the way. Would you like to tell us how excited you are to be a Miami Marlin and how all this came to fruition this offseason for you?
Yeah, I'm stoked. So I mean, at the end of the season with the Angels, I got DFA'd, cleared waivers, and became a free agent. And eventually, we heard from the Marlins that they wanted to do this, and I was stoked because I don't personally know a lot of any of the guys on the team, but I've played against quite a few of the position players at least that have been traded over to the Marlins throughout the past couple of years. And just playing against those guys, they're really good players and they seem like good dudes to be around. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And then throughout the past few weeks of actually being signed with the Marlins, the amount of staff that's reached out, whether it's text or phone call, everyone's just been so welcoming. And I'm looking forward to getting this going here pretty soon.
So, Eric, you got some good time at the end of the season and had some success. Just what were some of your takeaways playing at the big league level for the first time in a short stint?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a big jump from even the AAA ball. I think the hitting coach with the Angels definitely helped me out a lot. Just and watching some of the other like Taylor Ward and the guys have been doing it all season or for multiple seasons. And kind of just picking up what they do as far as maybe being a little more patient, not so aggressive, especially early in counts, especially when you don't know the pitcher. You've never seen these guys before.
Sure.
You can watch all the video you want, but until you're in the box, you don't really have a perfect idea of what's going on. And just the way those pitchers locate in the big leagues is, they're obviously the top of the game. So, it was definitely a little bit of an adjustment, but I feel like I definitely found a groove once that first hit landed on the grass, found some outfield grass. I feel like it's oh, okay, there's the first one. Now we can go a little bit.
Right.
Exactly. It kind of slows the game down a little bit. That was another thing, even on defense, just trying to just slow the game down as much as possible. Cause it's definitely a different animal up there.
Now, Kyle, I might go backwards here with Eric, but before, let me just show him. I actually got the Amazon purchase here. I love it when my wife lets me watch Eric Wagaman.
That's awesome.
So $23. You got different colors. You've got different options.
Mine's on sale. I got mine for $17.99. If you see in the top right corner.
That's a steal.
Anyway, so let's go back. You were drafted by the Yankees in the 13th round back in 2017. And then Rule 5 to the Angels. But let me actually first start with the New York Yankees. The Marlins director of hitting is Joe Migliaccio. Did you run into him at any point?
Yeah, he was the AA hitting coach when I wasn't in AA at the time. And then eventually he made his way to the hitting coordinator. So, I got to be around Joe for a few years. So I got to know him pretty well. I actually reached out to him a couple weeks ago and just caught up with him a little bit. He's awesome. I love what he has to talk about. And I think he's going to do a great job in his new role.
You know what? If somebody said you get a chance to chat with Juan Soto, I'd love to do it. But I've always enjoyed talking to guys like yourself, Eric, that have just absolutely grinded through this thing and have finally kind of reached the mountaintop. Now they say it's easy, it's easier to get there and it's harder to stay there. But can you just take me through the grind that you've been on since you were drafted 7-8 years ago now? And I guess through some of the trials and tribulations, how many times did it, you're laying in a bed in a AA hotel and it's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. How hard is it to stick to this thing?
I think, yeah, I mean, eventually it's like, I just feel like you gotta love being there. That's the main thing. And, the guys that I was around in the Yankees organization, like it felt like a really good culture from the players to the staff. And it never felt like a long journey to me. Like it felt like it's flown by. There's like, I don't know. I just feel like you got to love being out there. And when you have good people around you, it makes it go by a lot quicker. And I mean, I'm just extremely lucky to have finally got an opportunity to make it and, show what I can do a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it definitely took swing changes and listening to, all the coaches' advice from defense to hitting approaches to the swing mechanics. I mean, all of it. I definitely am very grateful for the Yankees.
It is a little unusual, by the way. There are oftentimes minor league journeymen or whatever you'd like to call them in parts of 7 seasons. You might see them with 3 to 4 different teams. You've only been affiliated in 2 different organizations, the Marlins now being your third. I do want to go back to what Steven had asked you about kind of getting to the big leagues with the Angels. Can you dive a little deeper for those of us that'll never experience it? The first time you step onto that field, like after the national anthem, are your feet on the ground? Where is your head? How do you do it that first time, like making your debut?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when I first got there, I, introduced myself to Ron Washington and, I wasn't in the lineup that night, which I was kind of happy about because it was like a super early flight, 5 a.m. out of there, couple of like connections to Minnesota. But just, yeah, walking out there and taking batting practice and just like, I don't know, just try to take it all in. And then, yeah, eventually, like, I think it was the 8th inning I came in, got my first AB, played a couple innings of defense. And yeah, I mean, as a fan of the game, like I stood out there in left field and just looked around and just, this was crazy. People were chirping me from the left field stands. And I was like, I don't even care. You guys say whatever you want. I'm just going to soak it in. But then, yeah, the next night when I was in the lineup, it was, I believe it was 9/11. So they did, a nice little ceremony before. There was a cool flyover that they did. And I was just like, this is crazy that I'm standing on the field for this, like about to play in a big league game. And then, the game starts and you try and slow it down, but yeah, you just do your best to slow down the game and have some fun out there.
Eric, you had mentioned being managed by Ron Washington, one of my favorites. What did you learn from him? Any stories that you could share with him?
I mean, that guy is an infield just guru. I mean, you see it, I feel like, all over social media, and that's kind of been his reputation for however long he's been in this game. So for me, like I just started playing third last season, so just taking in all of the drills that he brought in, any type of like little advice on positioning, reading swings, all that kind of stuff. He was super, super helpful. Him and just the other 2 infield guys that were helping out, they were all on the same page. And yeah, he was super, super helpful in the infield. I don't have any, I feel like I wasn't up there long enough to have any like fun stories, but
Sure.
Just as far as like the baseball side goes, I feel like I learned a ton in that 3 weeks that I was up there on the.
No, I just remember like the first couple of games with the Angels, I think they struggled. They may have gotten swept in Baltimore. He had a team meeting after 3 days. People were like, what the heck's going on? And then they actually came to Miami and kicked the Marlins' butt and swept them. So I just know that he's a very emotional, but he also is so connective with his players. Now, you mentioned reading swings at third base. Me and Kyle love the details and nitty-gritty of this stuff. So just give us sort of an example of what you're trying to see at third base, reading swings, and then maybe anticipating where the ball would go.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you see a guy that's late on like a couple heaters, in luckily we do have the pitch com up there. The infielders have the pitch com, so you know it's coming. And maybe like as the pitcher's coming set or about to start their wind up or whatever, you shade, if it's another fastball, maybe you shade a step or two to your right. If it's a lefty or whatever it may be, just so you can get that extra little jump, because some of those guys are really fast. They fly down the line, and every out is important. So you gotta make the plays.
What are you hoping you bring to Miami?
I hope I can just bring some versatility. I think I played a lot of outfield and third last year, and then my first 6-7 years of pro ball I played first. So I feel like being able to play a couple different positions, I personally think I can hit for average and some power. And I think, whatever role is my role with the Marlins, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do my best at it.
I think there's a lot of guys too, and understandably so. It's darn near hard enough to get to the big leagues, and many guys never do, that you'd rather focus on one position. And for whatever reason, I feel like in recent years, when people would say utility man, some players would sometimes take it as a slight. It was almost like a negative connotation that you're a utility man. But Eric, obviously, as you know, and it seems like it's something you almost look forward to, being versatile and the ability to play multiple positions has obviously led potentially to this opportunity that you now have in Miami. How much do you pride yourself on getting your third base work in every day, your outfield work, your first base work, all that?
Oh, 100%. That, led me to where I'm at now. It just opens up a lot more options. You know what I mean? It's like, if you can hit a little bit and stick around, and you can play a couple positions and help the team that way, I just think it's super valuable. And I definitely take pride in playing good defense. Just like anybody else, I hate making errors or bad plays. So this offseason, playing third base or taking ground balls at third base, making good throws, all that kind of stuff has been a huge priority for me. I'm just looking forward to whatever my role may be. I'm just excited for it.
You're a pretty big dude, 6'4", 210, 215, whatever you're playing at. Always an unfair question, but simply out of curiosity, at that size, a big guy, do you model your game after anybody when you're going through slumps? Is there anything you look at on video? I don't know. Do you remind yourself of anybody when you're playing by any stretch? I
feel like no one in particular that I try to model myself after. I don't want to. There's definitely the top hitters. I do love watching video of them. I think there's a lot of similarities in a lot the best players in the game swings, and I have certain things that I know work for me, whether it feels right or not that day. It's you might not feel your best that day, but I know it's right. As far as mechanics go, I don't. Yeah, like I said, I don't really model it after anybody in particular, but I do try and watch different video of different guys and how they get to these spots that they get to in order to have success on a daily basis.
I'm curious with this, Eric. The Marlins had multiple guys last year, let's use Jonah Bride or Otto Lopez, where they didn't get the opportunity with their original organization or their second or third organization, and they found success here. Jonah Bride was one of the better stories of the second half. Otto Lopez was someone that was DFA'd and the Marlins acquired. Is that sort of attractive when you are selecting a place to go in free agency and you look? Do you look at those types of things, guys that sort of didn't quite figure it out with one organization and then they go to another and they succeed?
Yeah, I definitely think it's promising. I think, I feel like there's a ton of guys that it's just the right place in the right time. It's either a change of scenery or whatever it may be, that just maybe something clicks for them. And, it was always in there, but maybe they just had never had a consistent opportunity to get to that spot. But yeah, I do think changes of scenery are really good for some people. And I think it can make a big difference. Overall, I think people will take all that kind of stuff into consideration. Maybe
Sure.
They know someone on the staff, maybe they've talked to, whatever it may be. I definitely think that's taken into consideration.
I read this in an article written about you. I'm going to read the quote and then you can explain why it's important to you. You said on, keeping the ball in play. I do take pride in trying to keep the strikeouts down. I feel like there's a lot of value in that, whether it is a hit hard or soft, but find some outfield grass. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. I mean, just putting the ball in play just forces them to make a play. You know what I mean? Now, you're not gonna. We're always trying to drive the ball, but like even with 2 strikes and stuff in the big leagues, you're trying to win ball games. So whatever you can do to try and move a runner over or whatever it may be, I just think not striking out is just huge. I mean, you look at like Luis Arias. I mean, he strikes out twice a year, and look at it. And just look how that works out for him. So I just think overall, keeping the strike, it's just something I pride myself on, and I try and keep at a minimum, definitely. But without sacrifice, like with 2 strikes, I'm not just trying to, have a swinging bunt, sure. But at the same time, I think it comes down to having a solid approach, having a good plan up there and knowing what you want to do, whether it's backing up the fastball and shooting it to right field or whatever it may be.
Well, it's a great example because Luis Arias has made his money on the ability to make contact. He doesn't hit for power, but he darn near hits 300, and he's a singles hitter, but he sets the table for all the guys behind him. Eric, when you made your debut last season, you became the 21st player to appear in the big leagues out of Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa, California. I ask you that because you were a 13th round pick out of Orange Coast College. Not many folks would probably have heard by that. You didn't come out of Auburn or Alabama or LSU or these huge schools in the first round. Do you look at yourself as an underdog? What's the mentality that you take to the field every day?
Maybe a little bit, but nothing crazy. I just want to go out there and be consistent. I know, I believe in myself. I know I'm a good player. I try not to compare myself to others. I feel like that's just asking for problems. I don't know about an underdog, but I don't know. I just try and go out there and do my best, and like I said, not compare myself to others.
Hey, why this journey for you? Did you have big time offers? Why did you choose to go to Orange Coast College?
I had a couple, smaller Division II schools out of high school. I don't think I was at that time. I just wasn't super athletic. I was slow, and going the junior college route was probably the best thing for me, just to develop a little more. And then out of there, I was going to go to the University of Houston, but I got drafted and was like, I just want to start this journey and not risk getting hurt or anything else happening, and kind of just went with it like that. Yeah.
My other one for you would then be, if you were a little bit slower, but a good ball player and all that stuff, when you came out of high school and chose to go to junior college, was your intention like, I'm going to do 2 years here, I'm going to a big school, and I'm going to play professional baseball? Or was it for the longest time you had no idea where life was going to take you after college?
I definitely knew that I wanted to play Division I baseball. I mean, if pro ball came around, then it came around, but I definitely knew I wanted to play Division I. So, if that took 2 years at a junior college, then so be it. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously nothing wrong with playing Division II. That was my personal goal. So that's kind of how that happened.
So again, you got selected by the Yankees, and then the Angels selected you in the Rule 5 draft. Now, last year, you began in Double-A, and then you were promoted to Triple-A in August. You were selected in September. What clicked last year to really move quickly, at least in 2024, to the big leagues?
I think it was just trusting my swing and like knowing that I had it in me. I think with the Yankees, I didn't, I like 2022 and 23, I didn't play a whole lot, but I had put together good at bats, put together some good numbers and stuff. So when I did go to the Angels, I was like, I know I can play. If I get a shot to play every day here, I know what I can do. So nothing really changed from those past 2 years. Obviously, always trying to improve the mechanics and be consistent, but there was no like certain thing that clicked. I feel like I definitely learned a lot in AA from our hitting coach and even in AAA, just about approach stuff. I think that's probably was the main thing for me. And, sticking to a good plan as you go up there.
I should have asked it. Did you work with Rachel Balkovec in New York too?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was never on her team when she managed, but I was around her a lot for the 2 or 3 years that she was, I saw her in spring training, so I got to know her pretty well. So we connected after I signed with the Marlins, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing her.
It was interesting too, Steven and Eric, the reason I asked you earlier about your journey and if there was ever times where you felt like it wasn't going to happen, when you came out of junior college, it took you 5 years to get out of A-ball. A lot of guys wouldn't last that long, but what's interesting to me, a lot of organizations would also probably give up on a guy if they can't get out of A-ball after 5 years. I thought that was really, really cool. What do you think, what do you think the Yankees saw in you year after year? No, we're going to keep work. Obviously, you ended up in the Angel system, but he's not going anywhere. He's ours. We're going to continue to work with him.
I think it comes down to, I personally think it's, I don't know, being a good teammate, being good around the staff and other players. I feel like I didn't really complain too much about things. Like I said, I just love being there. I think I always had the potential. So it's I feel like that having the potential to make it maybe one day, and being a good person and being a good teammate definitely can take you places. Cause I feel like there's guys that you see have all this talent, but they're just not good to be around. And eventually they just get weeded out. So yeah. I think that definitely played a part in it.
I've got two more because you've been very generous with your time, and then Steven, you can wrap us up in a couple of minutes. My first one for you, your off season. I know we chatted earlier today. Actually, I know you're getting in some live reps now. Are you going to tell us you're facing DeGrom or somebody, or who you facing down there in Texas in the off season?
Right now we're just facing some of the college guys that I work out with. Nothing crazy, okay. But yeah, just some of the college guys I work out with.
Okay, and my last one for you. What do you know about Miami, and have you ever been here?
I only have been to Miami for my physical that I had to go do.
Okay.
But I've heard nothing but good things about it. From the people to just the whole scene there. It seems like a great place to be, and I'm
Are you
excited.
A foodie?
I definitely am a foodie. I like going to different places, so I'm open to all recommendations from any type of cuisine.
I got some good date night spots for you. What else? Do you like the beach?
But you
seem like a guy that burns.
Yeah, do you burn easy?
I burn easily. So if I do go to the beach, there has to be an umbrella.
Umbrella and SPF 100?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you surf in California?
No, never. I never tried surfing. I did a lot of the boogie board stuff, but never. I never got on a surfboard. I don't know how I missed that.
All right. Well, listen, Eric, thank you for your time. We're both going to purchase these Amazon t-shirts. Amazing. Make sure
we're going to show your spring training.
Make sure you show your family if you need. We're happy to get one for you. It could be on your chair as soon as you report to spring training the first day. But hey, listen, seriously, thank you for the time. Welcome to Miami. We're pumped to watch you. I think you're going to have a great year, and we'll chat with you soon, Eric.
I appreciate you guys having me. I'm looking forward to getting down there and meeting you guys.
Thanks, Eric. See you soon.
All right, guys.
All right. Awesome interview there with Eric Wagaman. That was a terrific interview, and more on that in a moment. But first, do not forget, and this is coming up, a little less than a month now. February 8th, FanFest, 4 to 8 p.m. It's back on a Saturday. That is the best day to do it. Folks have an opportunity to come out, park for free in the garages. It's a free event. Just go to marlins.com/fanfest, and you can redeem your ticket. But make sure you come out and join us on February 8th. It's an awesome day. It's a fun day. You see all the players, get autographs, do whatever you got to do. It's great. Steven, you and I will be out there.
I'm pumped up.
Live show, a couple hours. I think we're going to do a couple of hours. A little behind the scenes here too. Our intention is we hope to actually, you more than anything, bring folks in bring us into their homes a little bit more during the year. We want to continue to use StreamYard to stream our stuff. And we can actually do that with the pregame show. We would love to do that all season long. And I say all that because I think FanFest might be our first real crack at this to see if we can get that and kind of sync up the audio from the station to make sure it's kind of on point. But if we can do that, excited about a big year for us on Marlins Radio. It should just be really cool to kind of see you and where we are at every night. And I don't know, I just think it's a nice touch, man. If you're just doing whatever you're doing, hey, you know, they're in DC tonight or
I think the beauty of this is as a listener growing up, I always wanted more. I always never felt like listening on the radio was enough. I always wanted to connect voice with face. And if you weren't simulcasted, I remember listening to certain people and then Googling them and being like, wow, I didn't think that they would look like that, sounding like that. And it's not good or bad. I just think it's a cool way of, like you said, Kyle, just letting people behind the curtain, because we're here and we're excited. And I think this is going to add a completely different element to the broadcast and Marlins Radio. So it's all good, man.
I think we've already reached some more and some new folks just putting this on Twitter and YouTube. I think it's cool to be able to do it, and people can find us there. And I think it's kind of an awesome way to get into our games. If not only, obviously we're on terrestrial radio and MLB, the app.com, iHeartRadio.
The one downside to putting our faces on here is me getting dragged by some people.
No downside, brother.
Getting dragged by some people. Saying I look like I'm 15. You see this?
Can you grow a beard?
You see that?
Is that?
I saw that comment over break. Who is this guy? He's 15. Who is he thinking?
Oh,
took me 3 weeks to grow this right here.
So you cannot? Can you grow a beard or no?
No, I can't.
Oh,
I don't even have chest hair, dude.
Oh,
I have one little chest hair. But again, I'm getting off topic. But yes, we're excited. We're so excited about StreamYard and what we're going to do for the pregame show. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we do more. I don't know. Maybe eventually we'll get a camera crew for post-game interviews, and we can do StreamYard on the run, on the field, after Connor Norby smacks one out of the yard for a Marlins 4-2 victory in the 10th.
Oh, all right. Well, we plan on doing a lot more, which is exciting. Your thoughts on the Eric Wagaman interview?
Good, man. I mean, look, another individual, I think that the Marlins are going to get his full effort, urgency, and commitment because he's trying to make it up here. We saw a stint with him with the Angels the last couple of months, and he showed he could hit the ball. But now you're going to get X amount of at-bats, and here we go. You want to be an MLB player? Here you go. And I think there's a lot of value in those guys. We saw it with Jonah Bride. We saw it with Otto Lopez. When you go from team to team and you can't find consistent playing time and you finally get to a team that's willing to give you that, there is a little desperate in some of these players, which I love to watch. I mean, I think as just broadcasters, sometimes a guy, very rarely does a guy run the same in his first year of Major League Baseball versus his eighth to first base, right? And that's just, some guys do it still. Some guys, get used to being in the majors. And I think every guy on this roster is sprinting to first base on a ground ball to shortstop, if you get what I'm saying.
Yep. This is quite frankly an opportunity for guys that may not have been presented with one before for a variety of different reasons. And you just, similar to like an Otto Lopez, you don't know what you're going to uncover when you give these guys these opportunities and if they're going to be a fixture for you moving forward. So I think it's a great opportunity. Seems like an awesome dude. So yeah, looking forward to meeting Eric and getting to know him a little bit better during spring training. Speaking of opportunities, Matt Mervis has an opportunity now with the Miami Marlins. During the holiday break, Marlins swinging a 1-for-1 deal, sending Vidal Brujan to the Chicago Cubs for former a big time prospect Matt Mervis, who actually got his first big league hit against the Marlins a couple of years ago in 2023. But a swap of highly regarded prospects, again, both trying to find their footing, starting with
change
Brujan.
Of scenery. Yeah.
Saw some good stuff from Vidal last year, not enough. Obviously, Marlins didn't feel like he was in the picture for them this year. And they bring in a very intriguing piece in Matt Mervis, who I would imagine maybe him, Wagaman, and Jonah Bride time at first base. I mean, Matt Mervis was at one point, and you can make of this what you will. He was very, very highly thought of in the Chicago Cubs system. So this is a guy with some power. He's had some big league time, and he's got, let me see exactly. He's played in 36 games, but we saw him in 2023, got his first hit. Obviously hasn't worked out in the big leagues, but it's a guy that was highly thought of at one point.
Yeah. What was your takeaway? Any reaction to the trade?
Just that I thought it was apparent that the Marlins obviously felt like they weren't getting what they wanted to out of Vidal Brujan. You know, this is a little bit deeper for me, but the one thing, and I tip my cap to Peter Bendix, it's very, very difficult early on in your tenure somewhere when you're making moves to have to swallow that maybe it didn't work, because as any rational human, if I was in those shoes, I would be like, no, I'm not going to get rid of him because I made that move and I'm going to make sure this works.
There's a stubbornness to it. Yep.
There's been multiple of those moves that didn't work, and coming from the Rays organization and Vidal Brujan.
Great point. Yep.
Whether it's Christian Bethancourt, whether it's Vidal Brujan, they have said, you know what, it didn't work, and we're going to acknowledge that. And we're going to correct our wrongs, and we're going to move on. And I think you have to acknowledge that. I think there's something to be said for that.
I totally agree, Kyle. I think, unfortunately, when you get in those positions of power, your ego can expand, which I understand how that could happen, but you're 100% on it. Peter Bendix has not been hesitant on stepping up and saying, hey, this one is on me. You know, Christian Bethancourt didn't work out. But then we look at a guy like Otto Lopez, that has worked out. Jonah Bride, that has worked out. We will see what these prospects look like. Connor Norby has, as of right now, worked out. I think the jury's still out on someone like him and Kyle Stowers, but I completely agree. And I think it's a rarity to see a president of baseball operations so open about that and not stubborn and saying, we're going to run this guy out again. And we're going to run this. This is his 5th, 6th year. And he's going to figure it out. He has not done that, which I can definitely appreciate.
Yep. A little primer on Matt Mervis, 6'2", 225, 26 years old, born April 16th. So he'll be turning 27 essentially as soon as the season starts. He actually played his college ball. This is a smart dude. He played at Duke with Griffin Conine. They overlapped for a couple of years. Parts of only 4 minor league seasons. That's what intrigues me. It's not 7 or 8 minor league seasons.
Sure.
We'll see. I mean, it's obviously doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. No, I mean, this is parts of 4 seasons in the minor leagues, a 268 hitter with 82 homers in 391 games, a really hefty, solid OBP at 361, slugging 508. So there's some pop here. In 2022, man, he hit 36 homers and drove in 119 over high A, AA, and AAA with the Chicago Cubs. So
it kind of reminds me of a Griffin Conine situation where it's like he has a lot of power in the minors, and now it's like, all right, dude, here's an opportunity up here. Let me see what you can do. You know? Yeah,
a little bit. So again, that's a young dude that hasn't been in professional ball for that long. I mean, to me, that's a really good deal. And if that clicks and that sticks, man, that's a tip of the cap to Peter and his team. I was going back and looking because it has been a very quiet winter. Have to acknowledge it. Can't run away from that. Can't hide from that. I was looking at the moves the Marlins have made, and this goes all the way back to November 1st. But I'm going to go through them because there's actually only been a handful of moves. They claimed Christian Roa off of waivers from Cincinnati. They selected Liam Hicks, a guy we can't forget about because he was selected in the Rule 5 draft. He needs to stick on the roster or else they risk losing him. But other than that, they got the Echedry Vargas kid, Brian Mendoza, Max Acosta in the Jake Berger trade, Starlin Caba, Amarian Boyd in the Jesus Luzardo deal, Matt Mervis for Vidal Brujan, and they signed Eric Wagaman to the 1-year deal. That really is all the Marlins have done this winter. And there's only really 3 names there that you should keep an eye on. Eric Wagaman, obviously, agreeing to a 1-year deal.
Sure.
Matt Mervis, who's getting a chance, and Liam Hicks. So, again, it's been fairly quiet, but opportunities are going to present themselves. But I just happened earlier today to look at I try to keep up with the transaction, so I'm not forgetting anything.
So hard sometimes, I know.
Yeah, but there's only been a handful, and we'll see what Peter and his team do moving forward. If you have any thoughts on that, I just happened to see that, wanted to share that.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, it's been quiet. So
still some time though, Steven. Still time.
The pieces. I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the Marlins didn't sign someone like Tim Anderson until a couple weeks into spring training. So moves like that open up.
But let me ask you this. Let me interrupt you and ask you this because I was thinking about this. You mentioned a guy like Tim Anderson. Is there a need for a Tim Anderson on this roster? And the expectation this season, quite frankly, is development. You've got to see how you can develop these guys. It's a very odd situation. Could they go out and sign a Tim Anderson and try to get better at certain positions? I suppose. But when I was looking at the roster, actually, you know what? I'd like you to start. Do you think there's a need for them to sign a big league free agent when you have to juggle giving young men an opportunity at where they're currently at?
I don't. I think the Marlins' plan right now is to figure out what they have and go from there. And I think there is a quote unquote core that they feel very comfortable moving forward with. But I think there are positions where they need to play guys like Derek Hill. They have to play guys like Griffin Conine. And those are probably the guys maybe not as high of a priority, but I think like the Xavier Edwards need to play every day. The eventual Davison De Los Santos needs to play every day.
Well, if you start Steven behind the plate, Nick Fortes, you're not going to look to upgrade there. You need to see if Nick Fortes is the catcher in the back. And if he isn't, you would obviously start to look down in the minor leagues and look at Augustine Ramirez. At first base, it would seem as if that's going to be up to Jonah Bride, Matt Mervis, and Eric Wagaman. At second base, it seems as if to me, Otto Lopez is. You got to give him another chance. He's got to be your everyday second baseman. Xavier Edwards.
I think there are a couple of locks. I think the Otto Lopez is a lock to start. Fortes a lock to start. Connor Norby a lock to start. Kyle Stowers probably a lock to start.
Well, let's do an impromptu lock and not lock.
Okay.
Do you see anywhere where you say it's not a lock for that individual, like a certain position, like maybe they could upgrade there? I'm just not sure that I do personally when you have to juggle giving guys an opportunity to see what you have. It's a very interesting.
Well, I think to me, it's not even. It's more about where guys are playing defensively, because I feel like there's still, as much as I love Xavier Edwards at the plate, I still want to see him play shortstop. And if that doesn't work, then he needs to go play second base. And if that means Otto Lopez needs to go to shortstop, then okay, that's fine. And then we saw Connor
a little bit of that
early on at third base, and he was good. There were good moments and they were moments. Jonah Bride at first base. I think there's more questions for me defensively than anything else on where Peter Bendix wants to eventually say, okay, you're playing here. But at the same token, that's never been sort of the Rays model. They want guys to play everywhere, and that's how they've really prioritized signing guys. They want guys that can play multiple positions. But to answer your question, where do I feel like they can upgrade? I mean, I don't know, maybe
I think everything would be upgrade everywhere, but again, the backup catcher situation, that's got to be Liam Hicks, unless you risk losing him. But you do bring up a good point with the shortstop position, where if you feel as if halfway through the year Xavier Edwards, it just might look better at second base long term. You then have Jared Cerna or Max Acosta, both expected presumably to start in AAA. Are they ready? They're 22 years old. That's the thing. I know people crave wanting to go add big league free agents, and understandably, we're all fans of it. But the reality, and we've talked about this, is you need to see what this thing not only looks like this year, but where guys fit into the picture moving forward. And taking playing time away from them for a guy that cost you $5 million isn't a major league veteran.
Look at what happened with Tim Anderson last year. And you kept mentioning his name. I don't know if you were saying like an example, like Tim Anderson.
Yeah, example. That was an example. Okay. They felt like that was an example. Void.
Look, at the time, I think everyone here in Miami was like, awesome. Yes, great. Like, they're going to run this thing back, and hopefully they can try to get in again to the playoffs. But Tim Anderson ended up being a disappointment. And then you look back and you're like, man, like, if Xavier Edwards was there, what do the numbers look like? But if we could do this game every single day.
I know. I just think the larger point is you talk about Fortes, Norby, Edwards, and Lopez. Certainly feels as if they're going to get everyday reps. They're going to be in your starting. Jesus Sanchez, they obviously, dude, if that kid can start hitting lefties, he's an everyday player. Griffin Conine took us off last year, then he has deserved more reps. Do you give him everyday reps? So Kyle Stowers. So if that's that's the big question you have to ask yourself. Could they go out and spend money and upgrade? Well, maybe, but how do you know what you have in these guys?
And I think there's two players that you just mentioned that if they don't perform this year, I'm very interested to see what the Marlins end up doing. Because let's just say Kyle Stowers hits 180. They're not giving up on Kyle Stowers.
Now,
They're not
has
giving
an
up
option
on
left too. Kyle Stowers is
Right.
optionable.
But controllable. They're not giving up on a guy like him.
Oh, no.
Edward Cabrera and Jesus Sanchez. If things go south, where we hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, I think you're at the point where you have to make a decision on those guys because they have hung around for quite some time now, and for good reason. Like, both are very similar in the sense that if they both put it together, they can be X top here in their position. Totally agree. But at the same time, we're at the point now where it's like, here we are, year 5, year 6, whatever it may be. We need to see what this is. And I don't even know what that number was. I think Jesus Sanchez is entering his 4th year, maybe 4th,
Yeah,
5th
he's
year.
for sure arbitration eligible. So he's going to
Sure.
command a few extra dollars. Bottom line with
Sure.
Jesus Sanchez, for me, even if they feel like he's not an everyday player, I think he's here for the long haul as a platoon player. But Edward Cabrera,
You think a guy like Jesus Sanchez, they're just not.
Yeah,
it doesn't
because
matter if he. Okay.
at that age, to me, he's 27, so he's 30 in a couple of years without options. And if he proves that he's not an everyday guy, he can hit righties, man, and he's got a ton of power. So I think that sticks. But I think Edward Cabrera.
Those are the two interesting pieces that I think are
very fair.
You got to
very
look
fair.
at.
Well, the
Everyone
other one,
else.
you brought up a guy like Derek Hill. Is he a filler guy? I mean, he's out of options. What do you do? I assume he's going to start the year on the team, but if you're ready to bring up X player from AAA that could fill that void, what do you have in Derek Hill? But I don't know. I think it's an interesting conversation because, again, I just think about the conversation because we have chatted and obviously we see everything. I'm not blind to everything I see online. People want them to sign major league veteran free agents to make this team better. And I just don't think they're going to do it because the reality is the plan that they have in place, they're going to see what they have here before they go out and spend money on a guy that is a 1-year placeholder. So
Sure.
All right. Well, that's a good chat. I enjoy chatting about that stuff with you. Shall we get to Pedro Guerrero? We can do that
absolutely.
first. Monster Jam. We keep telling you about it. Now just a couple of weeks away, January 25th and 26th at Lone Depot Park. Get yourself out there. Go out to Lone Depot Park and watch him. Stephen and I told you we went out last year, saw the Gravedigger, big loud trucks, big engines, backflips, somersaults, big wrecks, trucks going into the crowd. It's dangerous. That's why people like it, man. So get yourself out there. So go to marlins.com/Monster Jam. If you're watching this, scan the QR code. It'll take you to the right place. And make sure you come out for Monster Jam 2025 at Lone Depot Park. All right, well, joining us now on the Marlins Hot Stove Show, we would like to wish a very happy new year to Marlins hitting coach Pedro Guerrero. Pedro, thanks so much for joining us. And yes, a very happy new year to you and your family. Welcome to the Marlins. Thanks so much for hopping on and joining us.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Pedro, you've got an amazing baseball background. I know Steven and I have read all about it. You've had many stops along the way. You've played, but let's hop into things right now. Why at this point in your career was joining the Miami Marlins the best fit for you?
A lot of different reasons, but the most important one is the fact that we get a blank state. Not many organizations have the opportunity to do that at the major league and minor league level. Usually when you go into rebuilding in the major league side of things, usually you just get that side. And here we get to do the entire minor leagues, all the way from DR to Miami, which is pretty exciting, not only for me, I'm pretty sure the entire coaching staff is really stoked about it.
Pedro, what are you looking to bring as far as some of your experience and what you've learned from different major league organizations?
Definitely a mix of hitting philosophies per se. I don't think I have one philosophy that people have to fall into. I think that's a trap that hitting coaches can fall into. Like, this is my philosophy, and everybody has to pretty much buy into it.
Sure.
I believe you gotta coach the players and the individualism. The one thing that we want to bring is basically our pillars. We want to hit strikes hard. So basically staying within the zone and do damage with those pitches. The other thing that we're trying to incorporate that is kind of new is having a cohesive hitting system, which is going to go all the way down from DR um, to Miami, and it's going to be a unique thing that we're trying to do with Derek Shaman, the assistant hitting coach, and Joe Migliaccio, the director of hitting.
And Pedro, I know that there's some familiar ties with Gabe Kapler. Just what I guess was some of the reasons why you guys may have clicked, or why this it feels a little bit more comfortable knowing people that you've worked with before?
Absolutely. I work with a few of the staff, including Gabe and the front office in the Dodgers minor league system, and definitely it's comfortable. And I'm lucky to work with this amazing group of people. Trust me, I'm so happy for the players that they get to be part of this great group of guys that I already had some experience in LA with, that just bring so much enthusiasm and innovative things, and just enthusiastic in the field, and just bunch of energy that guys kind of like feed off of.
Pedro, how much did you overlap with Clayton McCullough during your Dodgers days?
Clayton is probably, not a lot of people know this, but before I got my first job as coaching, Clayton was the first person that kind of like interviewed me. So we were, he was in baseball, I was out of baseball, I was doing like tower work and stuff, and we got to have like a brunch type of deal just to get to know me. And then like 6 months later, I get the opportunity to do an interview for the Dodgers in the minor league system, and that's how things ended up happening. Then 2 years in LA, that's what I spent with Clayton for a little bit, and always see him across the field with LA in the major leagues as well.
Okay, back up. What job were you doing when you were out of baseball?
I was, when my career was over, I couldn't find a job. You know, you're a major league, you're a professional baseball player, you're 24, 25, and then you have to fill this resume of like, what are your experiences? Like, there is none, and no application that says, former baseball player, and nothing like that. So I had to always put other and put baseball player. Nobody called me back, so it was tough to get a job. And a friend back in Utah, Trent Runkles, he got me a job climbing towers. Basically, I climbed towers 50, 300 feet in the air and change antennas and replace, back then we were going from 3G to 4G. So don't take for granted the signals that you get on the phone, because
Thank you for your service, Pedro.
I appreciate you.
That's a pretty good paying job, though, those guys that are climbing towers.
And
You'll be
dangerous.
surprised. It should pay more.
Oh, should it? Okay.
It should pay
Now,
more.
was that hourly or was that hourly, Pedro? What was the overtime like?
That's hourly. It's tough. It's a tough work, man. You guys appreciate the service.
So, Pedro, this is a perfect segue into one of my bigger questions that I have for you, because your first job was rookie ball in Utah. So you're working as a tower climber or whatever. You just explained 3G to 4G. Again, thank you for your service. You then go into rookie ball, but because your name is Pedro Guerrero, and there was a 5-time All-Star and a World Series MVP, Pedro Guerrero, you were working so hard with that rookie ball team that you checked your bank account and you weren't getting paid.
It's just too many coincidences. Like, I'm from San Pedro de Macorís, Dominican Republic, right? Also, the Pedro Guerrero that played for the Dodgers was from San Pedro de Macorís, and we have the same name. We both played for the Dodgers. Obviously, he was a way better hitter than me. But once I signed to be a coach, the expectation was that it was that Pedro Guerrero. So my checks were going to Florida while I was working in Utah, and I call in to just kind of like get some information on that. Like, hey, why am I not getting paid? I have a month and a half in the job already.
Pedro, one of my questions for you, and we were chatting with Carson Vitale, who I'm sure you're obviously getting more familiar with. Well, maybe I shouldn't assume. Did you know Carson prior to working with him now?
Yes, He was in charge of the Dominican Republic complex when I started working in LA.
Okay, so here's my question for you, because I thought Steven and we had a great conversation with Carson, and he's got some incredible life experience, and he was talking about how the Dominican Republic really transformed him, as a person, not just as a baseball man. But I would just like to know, for you, when you were growing up, how much was baseball a way of life, and possibly an opportunity to make something for yourself, and like that was your meal ticket? Like, if I can make it in baseball, this is how I'm going to help my family.
I think in my country, if you are born and you're a male, the first thing that comes to mind is a bat and a glove. And it's first the hope of the parents to come out of like poverty. And that's how it starts. You get, they plant that seed in your head. You get a glove for Christmas per se. Here we go. And that's how things starts. But then you start really like feeling passionate about it and figure out what you are good at, and things that you can't really describe. It's just like the competition that comes around it. Like everybody on the field just trying to get better, and you go from maybe this is really what my parents want me to do, or this is my passion, because you just love competing against those guys and just showing that you are better. It is definitely something that that first is plant a seed in you and then just evolves into something that you really love doing.
Did you have a coach or an influence in the DR from a baseball perspective that you felt really shaped you?
I think the first coach we all have is our dads. Our dads in the backyard. But I think that the very role model for our entire family has always been Manny Acta, my uncle. And we always looked up to him and all the things that he has been able to achieve in the game.
And your uncle is
Manny Acta.
Manny Acta. And he
He's a great
managed
manager.
Washington and Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. But just to have someone that made it to the majors and managed, I mean, what did you learn from Manny, or continue to learn from him?
One of the biggest lessons I've learned, and he still to this day keep reminding me, is to be myself. I think we often get caught up in trying to fit in into places and fit into roles that we forget who we are, and we don't do the things that we just don't act like ourselves. And that's the biggest downfall of anybody.
Pedro, we have chatted about this new Marlins coaching staff, and one of the very intriguing parts of it is the youth movement. It's amazing. You're 36, 37, right? I think
Yes.
Clayton McCullough might be at the moment the oldest person on this coaching staff, and he's a first-time manager in his 40s. What intrigues you about working with a staff that has a lot of baseball experience, but relatively inexperienced maybe at your new opportunities, but like doing this together and building something? How cool is that?
It's incredible, man. Like I mentioned before, the opportunity to have in a blank state and just come from different organizations, different backgrounds, and bring that side of things, that the best of each organization, the best of the experience that we have gotten throughout our coaching careers in different places. Now we get to combine that and bring it here, and build this from the ground up.
Where are we at hitting wise going into 2025, Pedro? Just the game in general, because it's been over the last decade or so, what feels like is shoved down our throats is launch angle and exit velocity, and power is what wins. And if you're not hitting homers, you're not going to win games. This roster at the moment, as it's presently constructed, might not have as much power as some of the other teams in baseball. But like, I guess this is more of a two-part question now, but let's start with, where do you think the game is at today, especially in your role as the hitting coach of a Major League Baseball team?
I think it's so important to not fall for what this team is doing, or what this team is doing, because I don't know if you probably remember, like back in the day, each team have their own philosophies, or
Sure.
their own identity. Like these guys were just gonna hit homers. These guys were the best team in running the bases. These guys would play the fundamentals, and I think that's what we're trying to create here. We're trying to create an identity for the Miami Marlins from Dominican Republic all the way to Miami. And it starts with the basis of we're gonna hit strikes hard. Like our team uh, haven't done a really good job of controlling the strike zone, and that is something that we're going to take very seriously and help them recognize that and improve in those areas all the way from DR to here.
How do you do that? I mean, it sounds easy to say that,
Of
okay.
course,
And obviously, like, we're going to hit strikes. We're not going to go fishing for
yeah.
sliders in the other batter's box. Every person is different. Everybody's approach at the plate is different. Are you trying to get everybody more on the same page? How do you just, we're going to hit strikes? How do you do that? They're throwing 100, Pedro. How do you do this?
Well, we have you said earlier in the questions that everybody's following for exit velocity and launch angle and all of that stuff. Well, all these things we can track now based because of technology. And I don't know if you probably heard Peter talk about all the money that has been invested in the organization, and they have provided just a ton of support in things that are going to help us recognize that. Like one of the things that through my playing career and my coaching career has been that you always hear the same messages in terms of like, oh, you got to hit strikes. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to play the fundamentals. We're going to move the runners. We're going to do this. And those are the areas that everybody has to improve. But what we don't do enough is to support the players with self feedback. Like they don't get to see what they hit until after the fact. A guy struck out, right? And they go back to the iPad and they see where was that pitch, or the umpire rung them up on a ball, and they get to go back and see that, and they don't get that instant feedback. We are trying to provide as much instant feedback during training environment scenarios that we can, so they know exactly where that pitch was, what did I hit, and now we're actually training what we're preaching, and it's not just like we're gonna hit more strikes. Yeah, that was a ball. You gotta go and hit strikes again. It's not just a message. We are actually training towards that goal.
You mentioned technology. How much has batting practice changed over the years?
Not really much, to be honest. Like you see here and there, you see a machine on the field or not, but it hasn't changed much. I think honestly, you have kind of gone backwards because I had the opportunity to work with like really good hitting coaches in Philadelphia, in San Francisco, in LA, and you hear these hitting coaches talk about back in the day they will throw like mixed batting practice, or they have a pitcher in the mound that was just trying basically to throw in a bat to hitters. And I think that changed, and it changed to a guy trying to throw 40 mile per hour, 44 mile per hour right in the middle. So he looks good and the player looks good and everybody feels good at the end of the day. And then you don't get to see that in the game. You have a guy trying to strike you out and throwing balls and mixing in and here and there. And we're trying to simulate that a little more because I think we have gone backwards in terms of training.
And I hope this isn't a silly question, but these are just my observations up in the booth, Pedro. Even when watching batting practice, if let's say you're facing a lefty, they'll have a lefty throw batting practice. Does that matter? Like even the mechanical aspect of it. I mean, different guys have different mechanics. Do you get that into the weeds, or is that just not as important? I don't know. I just always thought it was interesting how each team sort of goes about when they're facing an opposing starting pitcher.
I think it's really important to simulate as much as we can what the starter is going to have. So if it's a lefty, we'll love to simulate as much lefty angles as we can because it does affect. Like you have a righty that probably hits pitches well inside from a right-handed pitcher, but then
Sure.
a lefty, a pitch coming in is not the same. So then he might struggle with that. So it will be great for us to expose him to those angles.
Sorry, Kyle, taking three in a row here. But any players that you worked with on this current Marlins roster? I know that Otto Lopez had a little bit of time in San Francisco, but just overall, any Marlins players that you worked with before?
Not really. Otto was there throughout the spring training, so I have a little bit of experience with him. Derek Hill as well. I spent like maybe a week or two throughout the season, and then he came to the Marlins. So
This is just more of a comment, but Otto Lopez, you know, there's this saying that it takes no talent to hustle. That dude has carved out a role for himself in Major League Baseball with his work ethic every day. Somebody finally gave him a chance last year. I thought he was one of the better defensive second basemen in baseball. And my God, whenever you needed him to move a runner over or get him in, Pedro, he just got the job done every time. You must love that as a hitting coach.
100%. And you know, I know I know Otto Lopez since winter ball. Like he had played winter ball for Escogidos over there, and he's been the same player that you just described. And I'm happy he got an opportunity to do it here because I knew he had it in.
Can
Is
we
it
stick on the? Oh, go ahead, Steven. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Kyle. Go. I took 3 in a row.
I have a question. Again, this is actually more of an observation about batting practice, Pedro. It's something that drives me bananas. Teams are a half game out of a wild card chase in September. It's game 2 of the National League Division Series. And by golly, somebody's asked to drop down a bunt and they can't do it because I watch guys lazily drop down bunts and not care about it in batting practice because it's a Wednesday in the middle of May. How serious and how important. And I know bunting is gone by the wayside in baseball. I know you're giving somebody a free out. But my goodness, I swear more often than not these days when you need somebody to do it, they can't. How important is it to be able to, in a serious manner, take the ability to bunt a baseball, even though you may infrequently do it?
Bunting is important even to hit, in my opinion. We hear from old school coaches that we had. When you're struggling at the plate, the first thing that you do is like, hey, maybe drop a bunt. When you are struggling at the plate, even if you don't drop the bunt, it will help you see that ball better. Those things are to me really important. The time I spent in San Francisco, I've heard Barry Bonds talk in the cage about bunting a lot just because he will put his body into a good position. So if the best hitter that we've ever seen in this time has says that, like there's some truth to that.
Is it easier going back to the roster and guys like Otto Lopez? Some of these, majority of these guys on the roster that have little experience at the major league level. Now, for you, first year hitting coach, is it easier to coach these guys because they don't have as much experience? If guys are in a slump, like let's say there was a veteran, you probably maybe would let him work his way out of it. Is it easier going into this situation where not a lot of guys have a ton of experience, where you really feel like you can be hands-on?
I don't know. I don't know if it's easier or not. It's the job, whether you have veteran guys or young guys, still hitters, and it's not about me. It's more about the players, always is. So whether they have some time in the big leagues or they don't, it's still about them. The most important thing is them. They're the one going up to the plate, and they're the one getting embarrassed if they struck out or coming back. It's not me. So I'm just there to support them throughout their journey and do the best I can to put them in a position where they can be successful.
Pedro, I think Steven makes a good point about a lot of, obviously, there's a lot of young guys, a lot of young kids, it feels like, on this roster.
Yes.
With that will come a lot of challenges and young men that go through struggles in the big leagues. It feels like you'll never see the other side of the forest. How do you massage younger players and not just work with them, but help them and say, like, I know you're 0 for your last 22 and this isn't going well, but you're good enough to be here. You can play at this level. How do you not only work with them from a mechanical side, but from a mental side as well?
I love that you touched that. The most important thing before you try to help somebody from a mechanical side or an approach side, you have to know and understand how that person thinks. If we know how the person thinks, then we can help them. It's like in school. If your teacher knows how you learn, then he'll be a good teacher because he's gonna know how to teach you. Um, this is my first year being a hitting coach, but I have 7 years as an assistant hitting coach. And the one thing that is you don't see because it's behind the scenes you're in the cage grinding is that an assistant hitting coach basically deals a lot with the mental side of things because the first place that players go when they're struggling is the cage, not just to hit, but also to vent, either
Clear their
throw
mind.
or just let some steam out. And that's when you really get to connect with the players because you're not talking about probably a swing or approach. You're trying to see what's going on. If there's something beyond on the field, is there something that is probably troubling the guy? And those are the first thing. It's more conversations than hey, right into the mechanics. Like you missed that pitch because of this and that. It's not about that. It's a game, and we're trying to help them out throughout the journey as well. Like the biggest jump that they're gonna have is from minor leagues to the big leagues, it's not from A ball to double A. So in that jump, we have some experience. Derek Salmon and I have some experience with some of the young guys coming up, and we hope we're gonna be there to help them.
You sort of mentioned it, but is there a recipe for the medicine that you're going to provide for these guys that do eventually get into slumps? Is it like you said, just get to know them on a personal level and work from there? Or, what have you found the most successful when you're sitting down with someone that is going through it?
That depends on the person. So it varies. It's not like there's not a secret formula. I don't think anybody has. If not, nobody will slump. Um, if I think if a guy is young and he comes up and he hasn't had any at bats, the first thing is just let him play his game and just let him know that it's still a game. Because there's so much pressure added into the job already. They're going to do something that is the most difficult thing to do in any sport in the world, that is hit a baseball. Let alone now you're up there and the expectations are that you are the guy that's going to help us because you're the new guy that brings the energy, that brings the tools, and then all of that. The guy comes up and 3 games, no hits, and that just start piling up. So what you want is to let the guy know that's still the same game. Before you were a professional baseball player and you have all this information and knew who that guy on the mound is, when teams came to see you, you didn't know who was pitching, you didn't know his name, you didn't know where he was from. You didn't know if he strike people out or he just pitched to contact. You just went up there believing that you were better than him, and that's it. And that's the beauty of the game.
Steven, do you have another question? The leaf blower guy's at my door. I can barely hear.
Oh man. No, I'm just curious, Pedro, I to get off the baseball side, I think it's so important to be bilingual. I take Spanish class. My wife is from Argentina, and I know that for you, you are bilingual. How important is that in connecting with different players?
I think it's really important. I had such a good experience through my career when I was playing. Like you come over, you don't speak any English, and my teammates were so awesome. I had such a good teammates when I was here that they just helped me through. We were in the game, and whether they struck out or I struck out, we were in the dugout, still talking to each other, not blowing off steam. They would try to help me, which was impressive, right? Throughout a game, they're struggling or I'm struggling, and they're still messing up with me in words, and they have some fun, of course, but it's part of it, right? Um, the the thing that bring people together is usually on different cultures and different backgrounds. It's usually food, music, and a fun conversation. So in order for all of those to happen, I think that the language barrier needs to be dropped. I think it's crucial.
So let's say we spent a day in the life with you in the Dominican Republic, and I have no idea location-wise where you are from, but where would you take us? What would you have us eat? Sort of like what would be our day in the life with you?
Oh man. First, I think, do you want like a real experience of VR, or you want to go to
Yes.
the resorts?
No.
No, I've been to resorts. I've been to Punta Cana.
Yeah, I've been to Punta Cana. It was fine. I want the real experience, Pedro.
Okay, I'm from San Pedro de Macorís, and I live from a little town called Consuelo. Uh, a lot of major leaguers have come out of there. Julio Cesar Franco and many others once in a while. And I really would love to take you there and see the facility, see the kids playing baseball, and what are the conditions of these fields and the materials that they're using in order to play. I think it'll be beautiful for you, and you will really appreciate what you do and the things that we get in this country. Um, the other thing is definitely we'll take you to eat some local food, pasteles or arroz, habichuela, carne. So maybe go to the beach and enjoy some time over there, but definitely mostly spend time in Consuelo with some of my friends. I think you will enjoy that more.
I think you could be able to articulate this for us, Pedro. You know,
Okay.
Stephen and I growing up, we love sports and we have heroes and there's players you look up to. But this probably goes back to my question earlier. When David Ortiz or Julio Franco or the game's biggest stars that come from the Dominican Republic come home and a 6 or a 7-year-old young boy or girl sees them, what does that mean to see their heroes, especially in a place like that where, like you said, when you're born, and especially if you're a boy when you're born, like you better get yourself a bat and a glove. Like, what does it mean to see those guys when they come home?
It's amazing. It's like seeing a superhero. Because as close as we see major leagues here, like for example, we cannot go and watch a major league game, right? But here, let's say you're born in Miami or in Florida, you can travel and see a major league field, you can see a major league player, and you can see batting practice. We don't get to see that. So the closest thing we get is when these players come back or either play winter ball um, during their career or before their career in the major leagues or at the end of their career of in the major leagues. And we see them walking on the street is like, it is possible. We see it closing.
I'd like to get back to some of the baseball. Pedro, I apologize, but my HOA fees are being put to good use out here. But I've shooed the leaf blower guys away.
It's
They're
all
blowing
good.
the leaves on
I
Kyle's
cannot hear it,
mansion.
so you're good.
I know I muted myself. I was hoping you and Steven could take care of it. Your job to me seems very daunting right now. Obviously, you have help. There are minor league hitting coaches, instructors, directors, what have you. But come spring training time, there's going to be 65, 70 guys in the big league clubhouse. You'll be there at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. You'll leave at 4:30, 5 o'clock at night. The work doesn't start then. It's obviously started already.
Mhm.
What have you been doing? Is a lot of this stuff philosophical changes, or have you dove into individual players?
I think a little bit of everything. The most important thing for me is connect to these players and have the empathy towards them of going through so many changes. They're coming in, and guys that were in the minor leagues are seeing different faces up and down. And it's always about them, right? Like if these guys are coming in and everybody's new, it's just letting them know that we are here to support them. So the first thing is like connect with them. Like I'm just reaching out to guys, and some are harder than others, but getting to know them on a personal level and seeing what are they doing so far, if they're cranking up hitting yet or not. Like this is happening in November, right? December. Um, that's the most important thing. Connect with them so when they go to spring training and they see me, there's no like, who is this guy? So there's some familiarity there, and that's how you build trust.
Okay, so you say trust. Stephen I has asked this question before. I find it to be a very good question, and I'm going to take it from him. When you're building trust with these guys,
Mhm.
whether you're making $10 million or $700,000 as a rookie, it's only human nature as a professional athlete. I'd be thinking, oh gosh, I think Pedro's really good. I think he's going to help me. But if it doesn't work, I'm done. I'm going to get released. Then I don't have a job. Like, you do have to build trust. How do you get them to just believe in you, even if there are struggles at first in what you're trying to teach?
I think it comes with the packages and the drills and the conversations that you have throughout. There's things that might stick, and it's our job to figure out a way for them to like to help them out when the things don't stick. Hey, this is I think there's something else that we can help you with, and you throw it out there and see if he helps, and if he does, and the trust just goes bigger. I don't think trust is something that, oh, if this doesn't work, I don't trust you anymore, because it's baseball, it's hitting, and they understand it's hard, they know it's hard. I'm just here to support them like in a big way.
Speaking of the players, Pedro, just as much as we've harped on the fact that they're young, and that's great in a lot of ways, there's some talent on this team. I mean, what we saw from Connor Norby, what we saw from Xavier Edwards, we know Jesus Sanchez has big time pop. I would like you to name me at least one player that you're really excited to work with, either whether your conversation with the individual or just their raw talent on what you've seen on film.
Um, this one will be it could be an easy pick. Xavier Edwards, talked to him a little bit, and he just seems to know himself. And as our job as coaches and mentors and teachers is to help the players to teach themselves. And my conversation with him, uh, I can tell that he just knows himself very well. And that is encouraging because that's my job, teach the young guys how to coach themselves. So when the things are not going as well, they can have peace of mind that they know and have a foundation that they can fall back to and get out of struggles. Um, Davison de los Santos, I know you guys saw the numbers in the minor leagues are whoa. Definitely there are areas of improvement, but definitely huge upside there. I talked to a lot of the guys, and I'm really excited because when I talk to any of these guys, they always talk about how they support the team. They are supporting each other. The conversations and things that I hear from them is great because they talk to me about when I go back to the dugout, I asked Derek Hill this, and he mentioned this, and the support among each other is the hardest thing to build in a team, and I think they already have that. So I'm excited coming in into spring training with these guys.
One guy I would like to ask you about and just have you chat about a little bit.
Mhm.
Jesus Sanchez, Pedro. I mean, it feels like we were headed down a road of where he was going to have to platoon because he had a very difficult time hitting left-handed pitching. But my goodness, he's always stuck out to me as a guy. If he figured it out 4 or 5 years from now, dude, he'd be commanding $100 million on the free agent market. Like, it feels like he's that kind of player if he can hit lefties. I know there's more to it, but when you look at him, am I way off there, or can he be that kind of player? The kid is really, really good. He has hot
Yeah.
stretches, man, for 2 weeks where it's like nobody can get him out.
I don't think you're wrong. I think the upside is still really up with him. We just gotta help him control the zone a little bit. You mentioned lefties; he just chases in off a lot versus lefties. Excuse me. And it's more about conversations with him and see what the approach is with the lefties. What is he trying to do? Because like sometimes guys just think they hit a certain pitch, but he might change according to which pitcher is throwing instead of righty, instead of lefty. You handle these pitches well from righties, but that doesn't mean you handle one from lefties because of the angle and things like that. So I think definitely the upside is there. So you're not wrong. Sanchi, the raw power is crazy. When he puts the barrel on the ball is just gonna come off hot. He's exciting to see at the plate. Definitely, I don't think pitchers just throw the ball over. They're afraid to make a mistake when he's at the plate. It's just a matter of like with the entire team again, we just got to focus on controlling that zone and providing the feedback that we are trying to provide. I think it's going to help.
I have a couple more, Steven. Do you have any more? You all set?
No, I'm good.
Hey, I should have
Okay.
asked you this earlier, Pedro, because
Okay.
again, the strikeouts in today's game, today's day and age, they're up more than ever. But I also think there's a direct correlation to guys throwing harder than ever. And there's obviously people that say teams value the long ball and and striking out's not as big of a deal as it used to be. Where do you fall on that? Because again, I don't simply think it's all on the offense, like, oh, the players just they swing as hard as they can and they strike out. Well, yeah, but like the pitchers are also really, really good. It's probably not easy to hit a baseball from 60 feet, 6 inches away.
That's right. Again, it's the hardest thing to do. Pitchers are, they actually have the ball in their hand. The hitters are just reacting to it, so it makes it even harder. Um, I do value putting the ball in play. There is value in that. If you have a, a situation in which you need something to happen, you rather something to happen moving forward, the ball forward, than just striking out and walking back to the dugout for sure. But I think there's a lot that has to do with the approach of guys. Is The effort is one of the things that I think in the game is not talked about enough. It's just about maximizing what is your best swing and maximizing what is your best pitch, and the harder you throw, the tougher it will be. So hitters tend to just chase the best result in terms of like movement, swing, um, hard contact, and then they forget that when every time we hit a home run, we don't feel anything. When you hit a home run, you don't feel anything after that. It's like seamless, easy, fluid, or whatever words you want to use to describe it. And that's when effort comes in. So if we don't also practice that, so this is a machine that is thrown hard, or a coach that is thrown hard, or whatever it is, and you cannot work on your effort level, then that's where we see a lot of like strikeouts. So definitely have some drill packages and a lot of talking points about effort that can help us with that.
All right, Pedro. Well, listen, you've been very generous with your time. Hey, my only other question, you have any buddies in the cell tower climbing business? Have they talked you through the 4G to 5G process? Have you inquired? I know you did 3G to 4G. What's the 5G LTE process? Have you talked to them about that?
Oh man, no, I have friends still on Facebook, but we haven't talked about the upgrade.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, very good. Pedro, hey, look, you look very good in that Marlins
Yeah, he
sweatshirt,
does.
man. We're
Looks like you
really
can still
excited.
play.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
excited to see you, man. We're excited to get to know you and more about what you guys are all about. So, hey, welcome to Miami, and thanks so much for time, and thanks for joining us at the Marlins Hot Stove Show.
Thanks for hanging out,
Appreciate
Pedro.
you. Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, so that was new Marlins hitting coach Pedro Guerrero. Fun conversation. That's a bright guy. That's fun. We'll talk more about it in just a moment. But hey, again, one more time, please do not forget FanFest coming up on February 8th from 4 to 8 p.m. at Lone Depot Park. Admission is free. All you need to do is go to marlins.com/fanfest. You can redeem your free ticket. If you've been out for FanFest before, you know it's a great time. Please come out. Steven and I will be out there on the West Plaza. I believe that's where we're going to broadcast live from. Be some other broadcasts out there, concerts, players going to be walking around, batting cages set up, players throwing soft toss to the kids, get your autographs, be some meet and greets. What else? There's also some,
I love live remotes.
Yep. There's like a town hall for some season ticket members. So that kind of coincides. We were talking earlier. If you become a Marlins member, there will be some exclusive sit downs with, I'm sure, the manager, Peter Bendix, etc. So please, marlins.com/fanfest, regardless of if you're a member or not, it's totally free. Get up and close to some of the Marlins here in 2025. Back to Pedro. Man, I know I could just copy and paste whatever we've said about the other coaches, but it's just, I don't know. I'm just excited. I'm just so excited to see what these young guys with a lack of experience, I guess, at the big league level in their current roles, but like the new, fresh ideas, what they're going to bring. The staff is so young. I really do think, and I'm sure the communications team will look at this. This has got to be the youngest coaching staff in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, it has to be. There needs to be some sort of stat to back that up, but it sure feels that way. And I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall even last year, Kyle, where Peter Bendix was so open about trying new things, and he wants guys in here or girls in here that push the limits, that try things that aren't normal or by the book. And this is one of them, right? Like not really having a ton of experience within the coaching staff, and that's not always a bad thing. And I guess we'll find out, man. I mean, there's been so much added within the baseball operations, and you heard Pedro talk about that too. He was like, we have so much stuff that we're able to talk with our hitters about, so much information and data and swing pass and all this stuff that's going to get us to ultimately win within the margin. So yeah, man, it's going to be, I think, really fun this year in 2025. There's so many new pieces. There's a new manager. There's new coaches. There's new technology. And I think we are going to be one of the original teams to start new trends. I really do. I believe that there's going to be information that comes out.
Why not try?
Right. That like, wait, the Marlins are doing this. Like, let me give you an example. And I have to give her credit. Kelly Sacco actually asked this question. Like, and I'm not saying they're doing this, but a switch hitter, right? If a switch hitter has better numbers versus a lefty, right, or batting from the left-handed side, and a lefty is pitching, do you automatically go to the right, or do you? Or and if the lefty has worse splits, do you do that? Like that? That's the type of stuff that I think, not the exact example, but I think people might be like, wait, they're doing that? Wait, what? you can do that, and I'm hoping that comes to fruition.
The other thing too, when you have a staff that is this young and they're going to be implementing new ideas, ways of doing things, and when you have such a young group of players, I think inherently, if the players are good enough, you see pretty rapid growth when they're young.
Sure.
I think you're going to find that it may take a couple months, but I think you're going to see a ginormous leap in progression collectively after a couple of months. I think the coaching staff will have a better understanding of how to work with one another. Not that they're not going to know how to do it to begin with, but them understanding each other better, implementing things with the players who are finally grasping things. This is just my sense, and I don't know if it's translating to wins and losses. I think when you look at this team, whenever opening day is March 20th or whatever it is, if you compare this team on, just take April 1st to July 1st, I think it's going to be eye-opening in terms of the progress the players are making, the organization is making, the coaching staff and the manager are making, and then that's how it kind of starts to, fuse itself together. I think you're going to see a ginormous leap in development and growth across the board very, very quickly this year, which is exciting to me, but I don't know if it's exciting to everybody.
Time will tell. We shall see. But spring training is around the corner, man.
Yeah, it is. And as we wrap things up tonight, I don't think we have any other loose ends to tie up, Steven. I know the show is almost 2 hours old, 2 terrific interviews. Probably going to do 2 interviews moving forward. But the floor is yours. If you would like to start to wrap things up here, would love it or leave it.
No, thank you very much. And this is an interesting couple of topics that we have for you. We'll start with the article we actually mentioned before by Christina De Nicole, who wrote a tremendous little piece on Ryan Weathers, who traveled to Scotland last month for, I think it was his wife's cousin's wedding. Anyway, he needed a place to throw. He ends up throwing basically in the cold in Scotland. And what was discovered through that was Weathers' commitment off the field, specifically eating and taking care of his health. He has lost 20 pounds. Love it or leave it. Ryan Weathers, little diet going into 2025.
I love it. He's gone full keto. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What does that mean? You're asking the wrong guy about diets.
That means that he is eating fats instead of carbs. Like, he is not eating any rice or pasta or anything like that. It is strictly like bacon, meat, like straight carnivore type of action here, because essentially you can burn that off, I think, better if you take in the meats versus the carbs. The carbs hang around in your tummy. So I think that's sort of the basis of keto.
Okay. I did think what was in, again, love it. Ryan Weathers, I think, is due for a huge year, because I thought he was headed towards an all-star season last year before the freak injury there. And
13 starts, 3.55 ERA. First 13 starts.
Like Nick Fortes threw the ball back to him on Christian Yelich's steal of home, and it dinged up his finger. Sideways, made everything go sideways. But I think he's due for a huge breakout year if he can stay healthy. It's always a big if, but I think he's due for a big year. The one funny thing about this story I saw, one of the locals, maybe like that ran a park or something, was like, dude, who are you? What are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
It ended up like Weathers, Ryan was like, I promise you, I play baseball in America. I need 5 more throws. I'll be done with this soon. But they were like, what the heck are you guys
Who's this
doing?
cat? Yeah, what is he just throwing a baseball when it's 30 degrees?
Yep.
I love it too, man. I think anytime, and obviously physically it helps you, but Weathers had mentioned in the article, just mentally he feels a lot sharper too. And I think there's a domino effect when you eat well, when you take care of yourself. Not only do you perform better, but you think better. And usually thinking is the first step into performing better and having a clearer mind, especially as a pitcher. All right, love it or leave it. How about this little prospect poll from executives? Best defensive prospect, Kyle. Who's number 2 on that list?
Starlin Caba.
Did
we say it was Caba or Caba? This is MLB Pipeline, you're saying, correct?
Yes, it is. MLB
Best
Pipeline.
defensive prospect in all of minor league baseball, behind Carson Williams, the standout shortstop there for the Rays, Starlin Caba, who was just acquired in the Jesus Luzardo deal.
Certainly love it.
I'm starting the new year
old
with
switch
love it.
hitting shortstop. Sorry, Kyle. Marlins acquired him, like you said, for Amarion Boyd, for Jesus Luzardo, but pretty cool. Love it or leave it. Starling Caba checking in at 2.
Yeah. I'm starting the new year with 2 Lovitts. Two Lovitts out of the gates. I think that's very big. And he was the headliner, correct, in that deal. I think
Yes, sir.
they think very highly of him, 19 years old. Starting the season, I would assume at A-ball, maybe gets to AA, but I think top 5. I think he checks into the top 5 now with the Marlins.
I think he's 4 on Marlins.com. But regardless, yes, top 5 prospect.
Totally love it. Totally love it. Very cool. 2 Lovitts to start the year. 2.
Very good. All right, love it or leave it. Have you stepped outside today? I know we've been at it all day today, working our tails off. But
Well, don't get
it
kidding.
is cold. It is cold outside.
Brisk.
Okay.
It is brisk.
It is like 68 degrees in the morning. It gets to what? We touching 58, 59? Or am I completely oblivious? I don't know.
And mid to low 40s at nighttime with the wind chill. I guess I need to say if I love it or I leave it. Starting the new year 3 for 3. I love it because I don't handle the heat all that well. I start sweating profusely, get red in the face. So I'm gonna love it. I think it's a nice change of pace for a couple of months in the morning and throughout the day. No humidity. I can do the heat, just can't do the humidity. And by the way, after you do your love it or leave it, I have a special love it or leave it for you to start the new year.
I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it for a couple of reasons. First of all, I just got back from Jersey where I was chattering my lips, and like the one thing I do not miss is I have short hair, so like my ears and my head get so cold and my neck gets cold, and I'm just like so soft now. Leave that up north. Leave Miami and South Florida to the sunshine, 75, 80 degrees. I'm leaving it. I'm done with the cold. That's why I moved down here a couple of years ago to begin with. Fresh start, sunshine. I'm leaving it.
Have you considered when your head gets a little chilly using a winter hat by chance?
Yeah, but I don't look good in one, so it's tough for me to put one on. I just don't like the feeling. I don't look great, and
But who cares what you look like? You're a married man at 27 years old. Who cares what you look like? It's
26, and I don't know why. Like then I start to, like my hair gets all messed up, and then it gets itchy. It's a whole thing.
Don't you want to stay warm?
Maybe my hats at home have like lice or something. Because every time I like start itching my head when I take it off. So that's primarily why I don't like using one.
Okay, fair enough. I love it or leave it for you.
Okay.
Crocodiles in Indonesia have allegedly learned to pretend to be drowning humans in order to lure people into the water so they can eat them. Love it or leave it?
No way.
No. Yeah. Love it or leave it?
I am loving it for them. I'm leaving it for the humans. I'm gonna pull a U card and not play either. I mean, that is terrifying that they're pretending to drown. First of all, actually, I love it because guess what? Sorry, animal lovers. If I see a crocodile drowning, I'm not gonna help. What are you, crazy?
Well, hold on, time out. 30-second T, no
What
TV
happened?
break.
What am I missing?
Remember, crocodiles can't drown. They're pretending
just
to be. The crocodiles are going under the water, sticking their little arms in the air, pretending to be people.
Oh,
so they're luring people into the water. People are thinking that those are people, and then the crocodiles just sneak up on you, grab you by the torso, rip you into pieces, and off.
I still don't understand. So hold on. So they had their little claws above water, but you can't see that it's reptile skin, that the silky skin versus just like a human.
Apparently not if you're 30, 40, 50 feet away.
That's a joke, man. There's no.
Oh, I had shut the music off. You can keep it going though if you'd like.
Yeah, I like the music.
Okay.
I'm leaving it. That's insane.
So there's a sick side of me, and I love this because I think it makes us better as a society. I think if you get tricked into that crocodile, I think it's your time to go because I don't.
Oh my God.
You know, I mean, that's just the honest truth from my side of things. If you see 3 little digits sticking out of the water and you know it's not a human, but you're gonna.
That's what I'm saying. How can you get duped by that? If there's
I think if you're getting duped by that, it simply might be your. Is that?
And who drowns in a swamp?
Darwinism?
Who
that
drowns in a
Darwin?
swamp? No, this is all like messed up. Like if you actually fall for this, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you do deserve to like see the big man. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's yeah. So like natural selection, I just feel that this makes us better as a society. We can't afford to have people crawling around thinking that the crocodiles are humans. But love the way we're wrapping up the first hot stove show. Excuse me, of 2025. So that's good.
Yeah,
That's my love it or leave it for you.
that was bizarre. I didn't know you were going to go to the crocodile route.
Well, I saw the headline today, wanted to bring it to everybody's attention, thought it would make for some good fodder, and I think we got a good solid 2 minutes out of it.
I did go to the Everglades, though, last month. Really disappointed. Not to the Everglades. I went like 40 minutes west and very disappointed. I saw one crocodile or one alligator.
Alligators, crocodiles are. Well, I know a guy. I can send you to the right place to do it. The good airboat ride.
Okay. Yeah, the good and we didn't really have that either. So disappointed, but there's always time to go again, I guess. But.
Yeah, I got to send you to Buffalo Bills. Honestly, he does a great job. Does a great job. Gets them right up there on the boat. Gives them a little chicken to nibble on. You hear their mouth snatch. Once in a while they get somebody, but that's part of the excitement. That's why you do it, Steven.
I used to watch Gator Boys with Paul Revere or what's his
certainly
name?
not Paul Revere, but that's
not
funny.
Paul Revere. What was his name? Hold on.
That's funny.
Gator Boys.
Paul Revere.
Hold on. Relax. Paul Bedard.
No, it was just funny.
Paul Bedard. Paul Bedard was great in Gator Boys. So I always had, it's funny. I don't like animals. You know me. I'm not a dog, cat, anything guy. But the alligators, I always was sort of, and snakes, sort of like.
Had a little soft spot for the reptiles, huh, Steven?
Yeah, and maybe wanted to work with them a little bit. Maybe like as like a sixth career option to do a little alligator wrestling. I know how you do it. You jump on the back, you close to snap it like this because they got no strength going this way. This way, very much so, but this way, not a lot. You tape it up, and they go into a death roll. I know this thing, so.
Yeah, I know you well enough to know that should be like 600th on the list of career options, but all right. Kill the music. You ready to get out of here? Solid.
Yeah. Let me kill the music. I put it on loop, man. Some of this, it is what it is.
That's good. Okay, very good. Any remaining thoughts? I guess after this one, 3 regular Thursday shows, and then a big do for FanFest Saturday, February 8th.
Some takeaways. Really enjoyed both conversations, and looking forward to really diving into our player series. Love that every coach we sort of talk to is aligned. They have similar characteristics, which I think will bode well for them as far as cohesiveness to this season. And here's the bottom line to all Marlins fans. What is on the roster right now? I think there is something that we will see prospects or younger guys that may have not proven themselves. I feel like we will have a couple of these individuals really show out. Don't know who, but I think we will have a much better feel about this team in a couple of months and feel excited. I really do. I believe that we will feel excited about certain individuals on this team, the Connor Norbys, the Kyle Stowers, the whoever it may be. I mean, we were talking about Adam Mazur, I think we will start to get excited about that next core as we head into the season. That's my final thought.
Very good. I have none, and I'll see you next Thursday.